The Bitcoin halving is coming in just a few short months, and speculation is already running rampant about what will happen with the price. Will Bitcoin moon? When will Bitcoin moon? Is the halving even priced in yet, or is there still room for price appreciation to happen before the Bitcoin halving? Or will the halving be just a big old fat nothing burger? Yum. More pain, more disappointment on the way. Come on, Bitcoin, what are you doing? Well, the reality is that no one really knows for sure, including me, even though I'm here making a video on the topic. Oh, the sweet, sweet irony. This video, though, will be looking at the historical trends, the factors influencing the halving, and why it all matters, trying to make some educated deductions about what could happen. So as we know, the next Bitcoin halving is coming very, very, very soon. The premise of this video, the next halving will actually be Bitcoin's third and will take place in May 2020. We are going to be seeing a reduction from 12.5 down to 6.25 Bitcoin per block. Every 4 years, Bitcoin becomes dramatically more scarce. Although historically, the effect has not been immediate on the price, but there is definitely a strong link between halving events and bull runs. Now, taking a quick look into the past, the first Bitcoin halving took place in November 2012. A year before that, the price bottomed all the way down at $2, and around 6 months after the halving, the price peaked at $270, a gain of more than 13,000%. Nice one, Bitcoin. Moving a bit forward in history, the 2016 halving saw a low of $164 nearly 2 years before the halving, of course followed then by a peak of $20,000 a year and a half after the halving event. Now this was in total a 12,000% gain. It's not too shabby either, Bitcoin, gotta keep it real with you. Not bad at all. Now the similarity across both Bitcoin halvings is that Bitcoin rallied approximately 12 to 13,000% from the bottom of the pre-halving bear market to the top of the post-halving bull market. If, and yes, this is a big if, but if Bitcoin were to repeat, let's say, a 12,000% rise, then the price of Bitcoin, which was a little over $3,000 18 months before the halving, would then accordingly soar to $360,000 around 12 to 18 months after the halving. Put another one in your pipe, crazy internet man. That's crazy stuff you're talking about. But is it really so crazy? The stock to flow chart gives us a $100,000 Bitcoin floor price after the next halving. Stock to flow, for reference, was around 6K when the price of Bitcoin was closer to 20K. Meaning that peaks above the stock to flow chart could be significantly higher than the base. In 2017, we saw approximately a 3x move above the baseline. If 2020, or more likely 2021, gives us 350K before retracing back to 100K or less, I would not be surprised, even though that would sound kind of crazy looking at it today. And yes, some may think that those kinds of price movements are just relics of the past. Bitcoin's never going to do that again. Personally, a little more optimistic right here, but let's be way more conservative in our numbers here. Even a simple 1,000% gain will put us around $30,000 from the 3K low. And of course would still be a pretty sweet gain from the current price of Bitcoin. Now, of course, a major factor in any conversation around the Bitcoin halving has to be the production of the asset itself. Mining is incredibly relevant to the entire conversation because it's the miners who are the ones that have the biggest and most consistent incentive to be sellers on the market. Satoshi even said, the price of any commodity tends to gravitate towards the cost of production. Bitcoin is going to get more expensive to produce. That's what the halving does. In fact, production cost doubles. It doubles for Bitcoin when the block reward halves. That's something to keep in mind. So the revenue of the miners cut in half overnight forever. Well, for 4 years, actually. I think it's cut in half again. Bitcoin miners, man. Don't feel sorry for them. They make a lot of money, but still, tough business to be in. Now, that makes a significantly higher price floor for miners compared to the current production price floor. Sure, it's going to wash out some miners who are unable to stay competitive, but this is a competitive marketplace. Many miners will have been stocking up on Bitcoin in anticipation of this coming supply cut. Those miners will be trying not to sell on the market immediately. Likely, of course, reducing, in the short term anyway, the sell pressure from miners. So is Bitcoin already priced in for the halving? Well, maybe. So insightful, Lark. So insightful. I know, right? The cryptolark channel where you guys come for deep, insightful maybes. But seriously, it may be priced in already. Why? Because the smart money knew what was coming. And that's not to say we won't see some price spikes and all that fun kind of stuff, but just think back to the crypto winter. A massive amount of Bitcoin was bought back then. It was done slowly, it was done quietly, and it was done with very little fanfare across OTC desks. The institutions and smart money knew what was coming, and they were positioning themselves accordingly, making multi-year plays, getting in at the bottom of the cycle. But retail buyers, they of course remained mostly unaware of what was going on and were scared out of the market because the price was down and all this stuff, and they were terrified to buy Bitcoin during the crypto winter. The process repeats itself. The smart money gets in at the bottom, sells at the top. The dumb money gets in at the top and sells at the bottom. It's a tough market out there, but it keeps repeating that pattern. And while a lot of renewed interest came into Bitcoin from retail over the summer, the subsequent correction has shaken out many of those new investors who are buying Bitcoin at $10,000, $11,000, $12,000, $13,000. We may see some institutional buyers who relate to the party taking large positions at this time or within the next year or so, but as usually, this is unlikely to make a giant spike on the market since it is almost always done OTC and with as little possible attention on it as they can. So they'll be buying with people like Fidelity and nobody will say anything. Retail buyers are unlikely to pile in while the sentiment remains so dire. Many people will not show up and buy Bitcoin until the price is soaring, lamenting that they should have bought Bitcoin at some point earlier. Why wasn't somebody saying, hey, look at Bitcoin now? Look, the reality is that those new price highs, they're unlikely to happen any time before the production cost rises. That's why the halving is so important. So unless we have some big, unbelievable, wild card news event that happens, then we're not going to see that big price move. The savvy retail investor, that's you watching, by the way. You're savvy, you're awesome. You will be quietly stacking sats and chilling while all of this stuff is happening, enjoying the lower price, allowing for that regular dollar cost average to buy even more Satoshis when you're trading your dirty old fiat for nice, clean Bitcoin. But before the halving, we are unlikely to see any kind of insane price rally if we are to give credence to any of the lessons history provides us. Bitcoin does not hit new highs post-crazy bull peak and pre-halving, which is where we are right now. We will most likely be ranging between now and the halving, not hitting that new all-time high, not going down to new lows in this cycle, providing an excellent opportunity for more accumulation. Don't get shaken out. This is a game of steady survivors. These pre-halving retracements have historically seen lots of investors just throw in the towel and walk away. The posts of those investors fill the internet like some somber, regret-filled graveyard. I sold Bitcoin at $7 because I got tired of waiting for something to happen. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy, because in every case, those investors missed the insane exponential gains which followed. They lost their patience, and they lost their nerve, and they were unable to reap the long-term rewards of holding Bitcoin. Understand this trend, understand how it works, then act accordingly. What will happen immediately after the halving? Probably not that much. If anything, a drop in price is more likely than an increase in price, since massive hype events like this usually result in price drops. People go, well, that didn't change the world, but I'm going to sell now, or there'll just be less buying pressure. Also remember that while this has happened in history, it does not dictate the future by any means. Obviously, the past does sometimes rhyme, so we might see some similarities playing out, but that being said, there are some scenarios which could prevent the halving from playing out like it has historically. Some crazy black swan event could happen. These things happen in the world. That's always a threat for anything, right? The USA banning the buying and selling of Bitcoin would be pretty gosh darn bad for the crypto markets. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the chances of that happening are like 0.000000001% or something like that, but still. Maybe Wall Street has become too powerful, right? Bitcoin futures on the CME, they're all cash sell. They don't require Bitcoin. They're pushing the price down. Those CME futures were only approved to pop the Bitcoin bubble back in 2017 anyway. BACT is growing in power more and more all the time, giving Wall Street increasing avenues and attack vectors to manipulate and suppress Bitcoin. But if historical trends do indeed rhyme, then we will see no new high for Bitcoin until after the halving, probably 12 to 18 months. The halving day, we'll pop some champagne or something, but really it's going to be a non-event. The days immediately following the halving will be one of general disappointment that the Bitcoin halving did not make it moon immediately, especially from the less informed retail crowd who will be expecting that to happen. Bitcoin will cross back over 20K probably at some point in late 2020 or early 2021. Again, this is based on historical trends. And a new cycle high will likely happen in late 2021. This high will likely be at least $100,000 based on the stock to flow model. And in the wildest upper reaches of trend and of imagination, we could indeed see Bitcoin hitting $350,000 or $360,000. Now, I know that sounds absurd, sounds crazy. Some will say there is no way Bitcoin will ever reach such a just ridiculously high price again. Who knows? We are, after all, still in the early price discovery phase for Bitcoin. But remember, when Bitcoin was under $1,000, there were so many people out there who never, ever thought that Bitcoin would reach $1,000, let alone $20,000. I mean, seriously, guys. Anyone who truly thinks that 20K for Bitcoin was it, you're not paying attention. And I know the whole 10K thing has become really a meme at this point, but there will be that point when we lift off and buying Bitcoin under 10K will seem ridiculous. And of course, there will come the day when people look back on Bitcoin under $10,000 and think that we were some kind of genius financial wizards for buying Bitcoin at such a cheap price. And you know what? In a way, you kind of are a wizard. Not the other guy watching, but you personally. Seriously, because as simple as it sounds, buying and holding Bitcoin, it's tough, especially if you're new. If you've been here for a while, you've seen all the craziness happen, it gets a little bit easier with time. I don't know, maybe just the scars build up, but the psychological challenges are definitely real. They're definitely constant. But the steady survivors, they are the ones who win big time in the long run. That is why I buy and hold Bitcoin. That is why you buy and hold Bitcoin. We are the survivors. We are the winners long term. And while a lot of attention is given to short-term events, happening in the next few months, like the Bitcoin halving, we also must take into account the actual long-term game. This is not talked about enough in the crypto space. Just imagine in the 2030s, 2032, the block reward halving will take it under 1 Bitcoin per block. Stop thinking short-term. Focus on the big game. This is an asset that hasn't even scratched the surface of mass retail adoption in any kind of way. We are still early. Bitcoin is still rare, and it's only getting rarer and rarer all the time. The Bitcoin halving is just a signpost on the road of the Bitcoin journey. Anyway, I want to know, what do you think about the Bitcoin halving? What's it going to do to the price? Are we going to see a new high before? Are we going to see a new high late in 2020? Will we see the new peak in 2021? Let me know your opinion on how the halving is going to affect the price of Bitcoin. Hit me up down in the comment section. As always, I'm super keen to know what you guys have to say on this topic. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy it, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. Long live the blockchain, and peace out till next time.